Hello, dear friend. I'm genuinely thrilled that you're here watching this video, and if you feel like subscribing, that would make me even more grateful. Seriously, let's dive right in. Some sounds never leave you. Not the loud ones, not the blasts, not the crying. It's the quiet ones that linger. A laugh, for instance. Hers wasn't joyful. It was triumphant. That was the moment I knew. A battle had begun. One I didn't even realize I was a part of until I was already losing. You didn't actually believe we'd last forever, did you, Noah? Camilla said it plainly, not angrily, not softly, just like a joke with me as the punchline. She stood in our kitchen, surrounded by photos I thought told the story of our love. There we were in Iceland, newlyweds, in Napa for our anniversary, our first dog, the one she rehomed while I was away for work. I'm seeing Derek now, she added, sipping wine like she was just changing her outfit, not ending our life together. He's got this wild side, makes me feel something again. She laughed, that same bitter laugh that tasted like victory, not humor. Then, with the weekend bag I had bought her on our honeymoon, she winked at me and walked out. I didn't chase after her. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just stood there motionless. Inside, something shifted. Not sadness, not fury, not yet. It was colder, clearer, a type of precision I hadn't known I possessed. She made her choice. Now it was time for mine. 5 years married, 8 together. I gave up a lot for Camilla. Said goodbye to late-night gigs with the band. Turned down a lucrative job that would have kept me on the road. Sold my motorcycle when we started trying to have a baby, even though she'd stopped trying long before she confessed it. She wanted a life of security, of predictability, so I gave her one. A house in Connecticut, a neat little garden, Friday night pasta dinners, a routine built on quiet love instead of passion. But eventually, she craved something else. Maybe more, maybe less. Less of me, perhaps. Less of stability. More of adrenaline. Enter Derek. I recognized his type. The entrepreneur without a plan. Flashy shoes, empty ambitions, a social media feed full of stolen quotes from broken people. He burned bright. No direction, no foundation. She chased the spark. Well, she was about to get all the excitement she could handle, just not the kind she expected. That same night, I didn't touch the wine she left behind. I picked up my phone and called my lawyer. Lock the joint accounts, I said. Effective immediately. Draft the separation terms, no disputes. By morning, her name was off the car. I cashed out my stake in our Bitcoin investments and moved the funds into secure trusts. I informed the HOA that she no longer had rights to the property or its security systems. I wasn't going to run after her. I knew she'd return eventually. The important thing was making sure the landing wasn't soft. It had to be deliberate, designed. 2 weeks passed. Not a call, not a text, nothing. Instead, her Instagram was glowing. A curated fantasy of glamour, yoga by the pool, bottomless brunches, fancy outfits she once called too extra. But the engagement was low, and the caption screamed for validation. Living authentically. Leave the past behind to create your truth. Bold love, loud life. All bankrolled by Derek. But Derek was already sinking. I'd started digging, quietly, thoroughly. Turns out his so-called empire was built on paper, and not the legal kind. I may or may not have forwarded a few very enlightening transactions from his startup account to his ex-co-founder. Money rerouted into his personal expenses. No confrontation, just nudges. Camilla thought she was lighting fireworks. I just made sure she was holding them the wrong way. 3 weeks in, a text from our mutual friend Amanda arrived. Have you seen who Camilla's dating? Something feels off. I replied with a casual emoji, but I already knew the spiral had begun. Next, I contacted Derek's lead investor, Julie, a shark in heels who once sued a partner for breach of trust and won twice. I sent her a neat little package, forged documents, exaggerated claims, doctored testimonials, all things he had proudly shown Camilla. Within 48 hours, his PR team cut him loose. 2 clients followed. Then came the blog headlines, crypto star or serial faker. The cracks were showing. Camilla didn't notice, or refused to. Still busy posting coffee shots and me-time selfies, while Derek's carefully constructed world caught fire behind her. And this was only the beginning. Derek's downfall wasn't loud. It was a silent sinkhole. Investors vanished, projects stalled, emails unanswered, money stopped moving. Eventually, the walls fell in, their sleek loft, paid with a company card, one now frozen. A neighbor messaged me. "Your ex was yelling in the hallway, something about empty promises and frozen accounts." It was poetic, really. As months slipped by, the cracks widened. Camilla disappeared from socials. No more motivational quotes, no more curated brunches. Even Heather, her closest friend, blocked her. I might have helped. Sent Heather a folder of time-stamped photos, Derek hitting on multiple women, including her younger sister. No edits, just facts. And then silence. Camilla vanished from the digital world, but I wasn't finished. While they burned through illusions, I was rebuilding, brick by brick. I started waking up early, running again, quit drinking, finally landscaped the backyard she always nagged me about. I partnered with a real estate firm, took on a consulting gig that tripled our old household income, and somewhere in the calm after the wreckage, I met someone. Her name was Eliza. She didn't burst into my life. She arrived like sunrise, quiet, steady. We met at a business panel on local development. She ran a non-profit that helped teens find job opportunities. Sharp, grounded, empathetic. She noticed the little things. Things Camilla never saw. I gave my coffee a slow stir, twice, before bringing it to my lips. I paused before answering even the most harmless questions. And during dinner, my phone remained untouched. Our dialogue meandered, through art techniques, jazz solos, and places where silence holds reverence. She didn't seek to impress or be impressed. She was the comfort, not a spark, but a steady ember. For the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't feel the urge to check in on Camilla. That need had quietly disappeared. Until the night someone knocked on my door. It was 10:43 on a frigid Thursday night. I was wrapped in a worn sweatshirt and thick socks, half watching a documentary beside Eliza when my phone screen lit up. "Camilla, can we talk, please? I messed up." I didn't respond. 3 days passed. Then she appeared, unannounced, at my doorstep. No makeup, her hair tangled, mascara streaked like smeared ink from crying too long. I barely recognized the woman standing there, stripped of her usual pride, looking small and fragile. "I'm not asking for anything," she said softly. "I just didn't know where else to go." I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. "This isn't your home anymore." She dropped to her knees, right on the very spot where, years earlier, she kissed me after our 5th anniversary. "I made a mistake," she whispered, breaking. "I thought I needed more." "You wanted attention," I said. "You found it. Now you're looking for safety, but not here." She lifted her face. Her eyes were swollen and red. "I've lost everything." "No," I said. "You gave it away." She gasped, as if the words themselves struck her. "Please, I have no one." "I know." I held her gaze just briefly. "You had someone who saw life in you, and you walked away." Tears poured down her cheeks. I didn't flinch. "You chased an illusion, and now you're angry that it dissolved." She wept harder. I reached into my coat, pulled out an envelope, and placed it in her hands. She looked at it with trembling fingers. "What is this?" "A letter," I said, "from my attorney." Her hands shook more violently. "You're suing me?" "Number just making official what should have ended a long time ago. No alimony, no claims to assets, no shared anything, not even the ring." "But I was your wife," she said in a breath. "You were," I replied, "and then you weren't." She didn't argue. She simply stared at the envelope like it contained the obituary of a life she let die. And in many ways, it did. The next morning, I boxed up everything she left behind, clothes, handbags, shoes, and donated them to a women's shelter. The woman who received them thanked me, said they'd be used to help others rebuild, prepare for job interviews, step into new chapters. The irony was poetic. What Camilla once wore for validation would now be someone else's armor. It was a fitting ending. But she didn't disappear. The calls came first, then the emails, long, emotional texts filled with apologies and regret, stories of betrayal, how Derek had cheated, lied, drained her finances, slept with someone she had mentored, and vanished when the money dried up. I never replied. She became a ghost, haunting the aftermath of her own decisions. I, on the other hand, was alive again. I had just closed on a penthouse. Eliza had earned a major grant. One crisp fall day, we were strolling past a bookstore hand in hand when I saw Camilla across the street. Her eyes met mine, then moved to Eliza. She saw my peace, heard my laughter, recognized the calm in me. And in that moment, it hit her. She hadn't just lost me. She lost the U.S. that could have been. That sight didn't push her away. It ignited something. Maybe remorse, maybe desperation. 2 days later, another message arrived. I saw you. She's beautiful. You seem changed. I was wrong. Can we talk? I never opened it. By then, the wounds she left had long closed, but the scar remained, and it told me everything I needed to know about her and everything I'd come to learn about myself. One evening, Eliza and I were curled up on the balcony under a blanket, sipping tea, soft jazz humming in the background. She turned to me. You never talk about her. She doesn't live here anymore, I said. In any way that matters. But you still carry some of it. Scars don't mean I'm broken, I said. They mean I made it through. She kissed my cheek, and in that gentle moment, something became clear. Camilla wasn't reaching out to the man she left. She was chasing the man I'd become because she left. But her descent hadn't hit bottom. A woman named Melissa, someone Camilla once called a friend, reached out from an anonymous account. She sent screenshots, Camilla ranting in private chats, accusing me of being cold, manipulative, ruthless. Strange, since she'd once laughed in my arms. Then Melissa sent a voice recording. It was Camilla, trying to convince Derek to help her take legal action against me, claiming I'd hidden money. But Derek flipped, admitted she'd been part of the fraud all along, that she'd helped him forge fake testimonials. The entire conversation was recorded. I passed it to my lawyer, quietly, without drama. We filed a motion to secure all my finances. The affidavit included the audio, just in case. This wasn't retaliation, it was self-preservation. 2 weeks later, I found another envelope in my mailbox. No name, but I knew the handwriting. A letter, pages of it, handwritten. Camilla wrote about losing more than wealth. She'd lost her identity. Derek had used her the same way she once used me. The thrill she chased ended in stillness she couldn't endure. She worked part-time now in a boutique, slept in a cousin's spare room, woke up each day unsure how she'd ended up there. At the end, she wrote, I don't want anything. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. You gave me more peace than I ever gave you, and I hope you find yours. I folded the letter and left it on my desk. I never replied. The last word wasn't mine. Life spoke for me. I ran into Derek at a gas station just outside town. He didn't recognize me at first, but when our eyes met, he froze, wallet in hand. You look like you've seen a ghost, I said. He gave a weak smile. You won. I'll give you that. I stepped closer. I didn't win anything. I just stopped pretending. He said nothing, just walked away. That night I told Eliza. She smiled. Some people get what's coming to them, others live with what they made. And I slept without a single weight on my chest. My life didn't become flawless just because Camilla was gone. Healing has never been a straight path. Some mornings still arrive with echoes of old memories and questions that lead nowhere. But now, I don't wish things had turned out differently. I don't long for her, or the person I was with her. Eliza moved in during spring. It wasn't dramatic. It started with a toothbrush, then her books, then her grandmother's old record player. One morning, over pancakes and fresh strawberries, she looked at me and said, "This feels like home." And I understood. Not because of the view, not because of the furniture, because peace lives here now. No manipulation, no silent warfare, no masks, just peace. There was a time when I worried that people would see me as boring, too predictable. But with Eliza, there was no need to wear a mask. One evening, she brought up music. She'd heard I used to play guitar, maybe even sing. The truth was, I hadn't touched an instrument since the day Camilla mocked a song I wrote. Said it sounded like something piped into a rundown gas station bathroom. Eliza didn't push. She just left a new acoustic guitar on the couch with a note that read, "Play when you're ready. Not to impress, just because it's part of you." That night, for the first time in ages, I let my fingers find a melody that felt real. By the time I hit the second verse, tears filled my eyes, not out of sorrow, but from the sheer release of finally letting something go. Camilla, meanwhile, had vanished. No texts, no chaos, not even a vague update. Melissa eventually told me she was working as a cleaner for vacation rentals. She'd stopped wearing makeup, kept to herself. People whispered that Derek had skipped out of town, avoiding multiple investor fraud charges. Camilla was left standing in the rubble of a life she'd always treated like a toy. But I didn't feel victorious. There was no smugness. Because the most honest form of justice was realizing I felt absolutely nothing at all. One night, Eliza discovered an old wooden box tucked in the back of the closet. Inside were scraps from another chapter, our wedding invitation, vows written in Camilla's handwriting, a worn Polaroid from our first Christmas. She looked at me gently and asked, "Do you want to keep any of this?" I shook my head. "They're not memories anymore, just reminders." That night, we fed them to the fire, one by one. I didn't flinch. I simply watched as the pages curled and turned to ash. Later that summer, during my cousin's wedding, I gave a toast, warm, truthful, with a touch of optimism. When I sat back down, Eliza leaned in and whispered, "You sound like someone who's been through war but came back mended, not broken." I smiled. "Not perfect," I said, "but healed in the ways that matter." Melissa later mentioned Camilla had quietly left town. No goodbyes, no posts, just disappeared. Last anyone heard, she was waiting tables in a coastal town. No sponsors, no followers, just life unfiltered. She faded from the world, and I finally began to thrive. Not out of vengeance, but because I was no longer caged. A full year had passed since she walked away. Since that night, she laughed like she'd won, never realizing the game was already collapsing beneath her. I'd redrawn the lines, rewritten the rules, and now her laughter was gone. No more late-night pings, no more shadows trailing behind me, just steady, honest days. Eliza and I took a weekend trip to a quiet Vermont town. Cozy cabins, maple trees in full bloom. Time moved slower there. On our second evening, as the sunset stretched across the hills, she asked, "Do you ever think about her?" I didn't dodge the question. Sometimes, not her exactly, just the person I was when I was with her. Eliza nodded. "Do you regret any of it?" "No," I said, "because all of that led me here." She rested her head on my shoulder. "That's what I love about you," she said. "You don't hide your pain. You shape it into something new." A week after we got home, a letter arrived. No sender listed, no perfume, just my name in familiar handwriting. "Noah, I'm not sure why I'm writing this. Maybe it was walking past that old park. Maybe my mom said your name for the first time in forever. Or maybe it was seeing a couple on the train, him laughing with her like the world wasn't watching, and realizing that could have been us. I know now that I didn't just break promises. I cracked something inside you. And you didn't fight back. You evolved. I saw you in a video from some tech event. You looked like someone who'd finally realized his worth. And the woman beside you, she looked at you the way I used to, before I ruined everything. I'm not asking for forgiveness. or a response. I just needed you to know. I see it now. I lost the best thing that ever happened to me. And I laughed while doing it. You didn't have to destroy me. I did that on my own. I hope you're happy. You deserve to be. Camila. I read it once, then again, and then I folded it and tucked it into my desk drawer, not as a keepsake, but as a quiet reminder that closure doesn't always arrive with slamming doors or raised voices. Sometimes it slips in quietly, inked by hand, full of truth, quietly dismantling a fantasy that burned too bright. That weekend, Eliza and I went to a vineyard outside the city. As she wandered through the tasting room, I stepped out into the rows of vines. The air was warm, the sky calm and unbroken. I didn't think of Camila. I didn't wonder what her life looked like now. I just stood there, still and grounded, in peace with what was and with everything still to come. Because the greatest revenge was never about watching her fall. It was rising quietly, never needing her to see it. No spectacle, no final act, just renewal, stillness, and something far more powerful, peace.